Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Madeline with Sundance Astrology, here today to talk to you about the upcoming full moon in Capricorn. If you are new here, welcome. I am a Hellenistic astrologer, so I do use whole sign houses and traditional rulerships for my forecasts. If you've been with me for the short time I've been here on YouTube, thank you so much and welcome back. So before we dive into this Capricorn full moon chart, we do have a couple of planetary updates. We had some ingresses since my last video for the new moon in Cancer. So since then, Mars has entered the feminine earthy sign of Taurus. Prior to that, Mars is in Aries, which is considered to be his home place, one of his home signs. So in the sign of Aries, he's pretty well equipped to do Martian things, to have a lot of action, drive, willpower. And as he moved into the sign of Taurus, this means that Venus is now his host, as Venus rules Taurus. So this is a pretty tangible energy shift. You may have felt like quite the slowdown. So this is just going to be a kind of a slow burn in your Taurus house, whereas your Aries house is getting this full drive, full force Mars energy. Now, wherever your Taurus house is getting a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit of a shift, but this is a slow burn. This is sustaining energy. Taurus is a sign that is fixed. So it's not bolting out of the gate like Aries, it is sustaining the energy. So for right now, this is a slow burn. However, towards the end of July, this is going to become like big pop energy. So just keep that in mind right now. This is kind of a moment to really enjoy the slower qualities of Mars. If you're feeling low energy, that's okay right now. That's totally Mars and Taurus energy signature. So let yourself indulge in Venus things, so beauty, aesthetics, pleasure, things like that. And the energy in Mars and overall is going to amp up by the end of this month. So just take this as a really nice slowdown. So as we look at Mars's host, which is Venus, she's currently in the sign of Gemini. So there is potential too that you may feel like you're just getting distracted by social groups, or you can also be getting assistance from social groups or socializing in general. So other than Mars, we also had Mercury ingress into Cancer on the same day, July 5th. So Mercury in Cancer really brings this Cancer nostalgia in, especially as we pair it with the Sun in Cancer. So if you found yourself really looking back on past memories, whether that be through music, photos, perhaps people, this is very Cancerian in nature. So Mercury in Cancer, Mercury deals with the mind, our communication, and the exchange of things. So in general, Mercury in Cancer, the mind becomes a little bit more subjective. So it's influenced by our personal feelings and emotions, which is quite the shift out of Gemini, which Mercury was previously in, as Gemini is much more intellectual. So just know that you might be feeling your feelings and kind of leading based off of that with Mercury in Cancer. That said, Mercury is currently combust. So what this means, when a planet gets within 8 degrees of the sun, it is considered combust, which is like burnt up by the sun, or it can also be delineated as like invisible. So in the sky, when a planet is that close to the sun, you can't see it. It's completely invisible behind the sun's beams. So this could translate in a couple different ways. This could be that mercurial things are harder to see. So perhaps there's a little bit of challenge in communication or logical or rational thinking, which is already the case with Mercury in Cancer in this watery realm. But this also may just mean that the logical mind and communication is not prevalent and it's more internal. So you're feeling things on a more internal basis, or you're working through like emotional intelligence. So, but all of this is kind of like internal and not necessarily public, which is where we can see like Mercury cannot be seen right now. This could also translate as like the emotional realms are causing challenges or hiccups. Perhaps something with Mercury in Cancer, especially combust the sun, we could be like kind of beating around the bush a little bit. If we think of the sign of Cancer, the crab, it moves side to side. It does not really go forward too much. So there's a lot of side to side action. So we may be dealing with just being passive, not really getting to the point that we perhaps want to or like to at this time. And finally, this can look like just an heightened intuition versus your mind. So really trusting your feelings, the flow of your feelings, and letting that guide you as opposed to rationally thinking about things. So that said, we are still in Cancer season, which means the moon is a huge player because Cancer is ruled by the moon. So whatever sign the moon is in is really, really important. And for this full moon, we are talking about the moon in Capricorn. So just something if you want to take with you, look at the houses that the moon is traveling in through the sign of Cancer, and you can really see pretty tangibly how this is showing up in your life specifically. So for this forecast, we're going to look at Capricorn. Take a look at your Capricorn house for this full moon because that is going to be heightened. So let's get into it. All right, everyone. So here is our chart for the full moon in Capricorn. This is coming in on Wednesday, July 13th at 12:38 p.m. This is Mountain Time based off of where I am. So please do adjust that time based off of your own location as it will change. So where do I even begin with this chart? There's a lot going on here. So let's just start with the basics. The moon in Capricorn is considered the sign of its detriment or exile. So what this means is the moon is at home in Cancer. Capricorn is the opposite sign of Cancer. So it is basically the farthest away from its home sign. So it's essentially just, it's in its antithesis. So it's working with tools that may feel foreign. So when we're talking about the moon in Capricorn, opposing the moon in Cancer where it's at home, the moon in Cancer likes emotional comforts. It can handle the emotional realms fairly well. On the other side, the moon in Capricorn, which we have here, is we're dealing with kind of a reality check. Capricorn is a sign that is ruled by Saturn, which can bring up a feeling of evaluation or perhaps judgment. This could just feel kind of cold or ruthless. So when we're talking about the Cancer and Capricorn axis, this is an axis that deals with security. When we're talking about Cancer, the security is found through the emotional realm, security found through home, family, tribe. Capricorn deals with more of like the work security, financial security, security in like the earthly material financial realms. Now, Cancer is pretty unconditional in terms of its love, whereas Capricorn has conditions. So Capricorn is a sign that deals with maturity, dedication, and finding security and resourcefulness. So we're talking about realistic goals here, discipline, a little bit of control, perhaps goal-oriented ambition, but this is definitely a sign that deals with persistence, determination, and overall realism. It's an earth sign, so we're talking about reality. Now, what we can focus on first, outside of just the moon being in detriment or exile in the sign of Capricorn, it is conjunct Pluto. So typically I work with about 3 degrees in terms of conjunctions. However, the moon in traditional astrology was given a 15-degree orb because it moves so fast. So it being 6 degrees away from the sign of Pluto, or the planet of Pluto, I definitely consider this a conjunction. So typically with the full moon, we're talking about peak energy of the moon cycle. So it's at its peak, it's at its full light. With Pluto here, we are certainly talking about some sort of release. I don't really think every full moon is a release. But when we're talking about Pluto, Pluto is a planet that deals with release, letting go, metaphorical death and rebirth. So Pluto comes with a depth and an intensity. This is pretty powerful. So something may be surfacing that requires Capricornian discipline. So Pluto has the tendency to kind of bubble things up from the surface that were hidden or ignored. So it can also bring up like cathartic emotional releases. On the flip side, Pluto deals with authority. So check this house that you have Capricorn in. And something to consider here is what has authority over you? Is it healthy or is it toxic? And if we look on the flip side here, the sun in Cancer, we can be talking about like our safety nets holding authority over us. Are we staying stuck somewhere out of wanting to feel safe and secure? So Pluto definitely brings an intensity to this lunation, and can certainly bubble things up from the surface that basically demand that you face them or deal with them. Now, Moon at 21 degrees is also trining the North Node and Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is a planet of revolution. It is a planet that deals with freedom. So there may be something going on here where Uranus is requiring us to break from something. Uranus also deals with acceleration. So Uranus is fast energy. It's sudden insights. It's sudden revelation. It can be also sudden disruption. So this can accelerate what is meant to come for you, especially conjunct the North Node. So it can accelerate what's coming for you, what needs to happen in order to bring progress. And this might be something that for all of us on an individual level that we have been ignoring or not wanting to deal with. Uranus is the planet that's going to like lightning strike that down and basically make it happen. So while it does bring progress, it can come in a fairly disruptive or shocking manner. So Uranus also deals with restlessness. And if we consider the other side of this full moon, which is the sun in Cancer, sometimes Cancer does not like detaching. Sometimes Cancer does not want freedom from certain things, people, or places because it feels safer and more secure with these attachments. So this can bring up a little bit of that restlessness that Uranus also can deal with. So Uranus may force a break in something that we are kind of sticking to. And if we add the North Node in, this is just volume up on this destabilizing kind of revolutionary energy. So something to consider is this is all very aligned with the Cancer new moon we began this cycle with. So on June 28th, the new moon that began this cycle was square to Jupiter in Aries, which was loudly hinting that we needed to be pushed outside of our comfort zones during this moon cycle. So, and think of the new moon as seeding moments. So the new moon, we might not necessarily see that push quite yet. Now this full moon is the peak culmination of this energy, and this chart just absolutely screams the same thing, that we are basically getting forced outside of our comfort zone at this point through Uranus and its conjunction to the North Node. Now, I mentioned earlier in my intro to this that Mars had entered Taurus, which we have here at 5 degrees. So as you can see here, Mars is approaching the North Node in Uranus. And just to give you a little bit of foreshadow, as I said, things are going to pop at the end of this month. They are all going to meet together at 18 degrees of Taurus. So this is an extremely important energy signature that we are feeling during this full moon, that the closer Mars inches to these degrees, the more we are going to feel it. So outside of Uranus and the North Node, I also already spoke to Mercury combust the sun, but this could indicate heavy feelings as it's in Cancer, or that the mind is maybe having a hard time getting on board with whatever Uranus and North Node are kind of starting to force at this point. So finally, we're going to look at the ruler of this full moon, which is Saturn. Saturn in Aquarius. Now, this is basically the saving grace of this full moon, is that Saturn is trine Venus in Gemini. So although Venus is involved, Saturn is more dominant. Saturn has the superior position here. So Saturn is requiring maturity. He is requiring discipline. He's requiring us to grow up, basically get our shit together. But Venus wants agreeability. She wants peace. So in Gemini, she may help present strategies to help us discipline. And she may give us several options, as Gemini is kind of this Aries sign that is interested in multiple solutions. So Saturn wants us to be practical for the long term, and Venus
in a trine to him can sort of help out here. So I do like this aspect, especially with the ruler of this full moon. So overall, I mean, this is fairly heavy energy. This moon asks us to basically buck up, buttercup. So Venus is trying her hardest to keep the peace amongst the heaviness and the chaos, which we can be quite grateful for. I certainly am. But if we take just a moment to consider the image of Capricorn, it's the sea goat. This is a creature that can climb mountains, but also swim in the water. So it's half goat, it's half fish, which feels basically impossible to us, right? This is not a real animal. But you can take this image as metaphorical encouragement that we have the strength, power, and fluidity to navigate seemingly impossible challenges. That if we tap into our determination, we can climb our own unique mountain. So if we want to pair this with the Cancer energy that we are feeling with the Sun and Mercury, although our individual path at the moment may feel grueling, challenging, or hard, we have support from our tribes or our families, or those we consider family. So my mantra for this full moon is I find gratitude in each milestone achieved. And to kind of just add on that, I think a lot of us, we live in a society where we want things immediately. We want immediate gratification, immediate progress. And while Uranus certainly suggests in this chart that something progressive is coming, we have a hard time zooming out or seeing all of the small milestones that we hit, and therefore finding gratitude in them. So I think it is important with the sign of Capricorn that can literally swim in the water with the sea goat and then climb all the way up to the mountain. This is a long journey. Saturn deals with the long term. So it's important for us to zoom out, and therefore we can see all of the progress that we have already come into. So one more time in this mantra, I find gratitude in each milestone achieved. So I'm wishing you a nice full moon, as nice as it can be in Capricorn. I hope it's progressive for you. If you like this video, please do give it a like and a share. I really appreciate that. If you would like to comment, if you're feeling this energy or however it's coming in for you, please do share that with me as well. If you'd like to get in touch with me to book a reading, you can do so through my website. It's www.sundanceastrology.com. I also have an Instagram where I share regular updates in between my full and new moon videos here on YouTube. So you can find me on Instagram at Sundance Astrology. And I also have a TikTok, Sundance Astrology, as well. All right, everyone, happy full moon, and I will see you in the next one.